What if everything you thought you knew about Yaman and Sara's relationship was only the surface of a much deeper story? What if the real turning point was never about rumors, outsiders, or media pressure, but something far more human, subtle, and fragile? And what if the one person who had stayed silent for years suddenly decided to reveal everything? Today on Magazine News and Gossip, we dive into the dossier that no one thought would ever be exposed. Are you ready to discover what really happened behind closed doors? Welcome back to Magazine News and Gossip, the channel where we explore the stories that the entertainment world tries to hide. And the question we are asking today is simple but powerful. Can a relationship that looks perfect from the outside be hiding the one truth no one dares to speak? Because according to Yaman's own representative, the answer is yes. The revelation came in the form of a short but explosive statement. No drama, no unnecessary details, just a direct sentence sent quietly to the press, enough to ignite a firestorm across the industry. And that is where our journey begins. For months, fans believed they understood the emotional connection between Jan and Sara, but this dossier paints a completely different picture, one built on intensity, pressure, and emotions that spiraled far faster than either of them expected. Before we move deeper, remember one thing. Magazine News and Gossip does not claim private facts. We analyze public statements, social media interactions, emotional timelines, and narrative patterns. Everything you will hear today is storytelling based on open-source information, not a declaration of personal realities. Now that we've clarified that, let's enter the story no one ever dared to explain fully. From the outside, Jan and Sara looked like a cinematic pair. The travels, the photos, the shared moments that fans replayed endlessly. Everything suggested passion. Everything suggested connection. But behind every smile caught on camera, insiders were witnessing subtle shifts, tiny cracks forming long before the world noticed a thing. The representative, someone who has been by Jan's side through his biggest triumphs and most sensitive decisions, finally broke the silence. And the way he did it shocked even those closest to the situation. Instead of giving an interview or making a public declaration, he quietly sent a comprehensive dossier directly to selected press outlets. According to close sources, this document contained a complete timeline. The first meeting, the early spark, the heated moments, and finally, the 10 days that changed everything. And here comes the first cliffhanger. The dossier didn't just reveal the ending. It exposed something that started even before they officially became a couple. Something that would influence every step that came afterward. But we'll get to that in a moment. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to subscribe to Magazine News and Gossip. Your support helps us continue bringing you the narratives that others are afraid to touch. The representative explained that from the very beginning, Jan and Sara's connection was electric. They became inseparable quickly, perhaps too quickly. Dinners, events, travel plans. Everything pointed to a stable, passionate relationship until the first unexpected cracks appeared far earlier than anyone anticipated. According to the dossier, a set of photos on social media, nothing compromising, nothing scandalous, triggered an emotionally heavy conversation. In an environment where cameras are everywhere and comments never end, a small doubt can evolve into a storm. The representative summarized it this way: I warned Jan that the pressure would grow. He was determined, but he didn't realize how fast everything would escalate. And here comes another cliffhanger. What happened during the final 10 days was so intense that the representative hesitated to include it in the dossier at all. But before we get there, let's continue with the emotional spiral that was unfolding long before anyone on the outside noticed. On camera, the two seemed steady, but privately, they were navigating a storm that neither fully understood. The ironic truth? Both wanted harmony, both wanted things to work, but they were approaching the relationship from completely different angles. The document states that everything started with small misunderstandings, tiny things that any couple experiences. But under a public spotlight, those tiny things became monumental. Work stress, media pressure, different expectations, emotional exhaustion. These elements accumulated faster than either of them anticipated. The relationship moved so fast, the representative wrote, that there was no time to breathe. And online, the question began to grow louder. Was the same intensity that brought them together the force that would eventually burn them out? The next section of the dossier paints an even clearer picture. The most delicate moment arrived during a business trip that, in theory, was supposed to bring them closer. Instead, it exposed every unspoken tension. During a dinner the night before an important meeting, a single misunderstood comment triggered a full-night discussion, one that neither was emotionally prepared for. The representative refused to share private details, but he described the emotional atmosphere as a mix of miscommunication, unspoken jealousy, and two very different expectations of what it meant to be a couple in the public eye. Sara, coming from a digital background, saw visibility as something natural. For her, sharing moments online was simply part of her world. Jan, however, viewed excessive exposure as a dangerous zone, emotionally, professionally, and personally. And this is where one of the most quoted lines from the dossier appears. The problem was never another person. The problem was the rhythm, a rhythm they couldn't slow down. It's this sentence that reignited debate across the press. Was rhythm truly the force that destroyed everything? Or was rhythm simply the polite way of describing two hearts beating at different speeds? Now, let's return to the final days. The representative titled this section The Countdown. 10 days during which everything felt fragile, suspended in a strange quietness. Small tensions building silently. Delayed messages. Eye contact avoided instead of explained. A calmness that felt less like peace and more like the final breath before the storm. During these 10 days, both were continuing their professional obligations, but emotionally, they were drifting. Not intentionally. Not out of anger. Simply out of exhaustion. The dossier states something deeply human. They did not separate because there was no love. They separated because they no longer knew how to love each other without causing pain. And that's where the most impactful part of the story begins, the part the representative almost decided not to reveal. As the final days unfolded, difficult conversations were avoided. Not because they didn't want to fix things, but because they were afraid of making everything worse. Sometimes silence carries more weight than shouting, and that is exactly what happened. One night, after hours of quiet tension, Jan went out for a walk. No dramatic scene. No accusations. No third parties. Just two people who were tired, emotionally drained from trying to save something that had already slipped out of their hands. That night, Jan realized they needed space. And by the next morning, they were no longer the same. Their final exchange of messages, never revealed to the public, confirmed something neither was ready to admit openly. The emotional goodbye had already happened, even if neither said it directly. After the breakup, Sara shared posts online that many interpreted as indirect messages. But the representative insisted that he chose silence deliberately. He didn't want the story to turn into a media circus. Meanwhile, Jan buried himself in work. New projects, international contracts, a schedule so full that it left little room for reflection. According to the representative, this wasn't avoidance, it was survival. A way to reorganize his emotional world. And then came the final line of the dossier, the one that went viral within minutes. They couldn't say goodbye emotionally, but they understood it was time to walk separate paths. A gentle, human conclusion to a story that the world had tried to turn into something far more sensational. And so we arrive at the end of this journey, dear viewers of magazine news and gossip. A story not about villains or heroes, but about two people overwhelmed by the weight of expectations, attention, and emotion. A story many couples experience silently behind closed doors. If you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe. Your support keeps this channel alive. And now, tell me in the comments, was it love, or was it simply a story told for the world?